Welcome back. I'm Cecilia Jimenez-Damary, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Human Rights of Internally Displaced Persons, and this is the video series on the guiding principles on internal displacement, why and how they matter. In the immediately preceding video, we elaborated Principle 24 on principles on humanitarian assistance. And in this video, we will continue the section to discuss Principle 25 on the state's primary duty and responsibility. Please have the guiding principles with you at hand. Principle 25, paragraph 1 reads, "The primary duty and responsibility for providing humanitarian assistance to internally displaced persons lies with national authorities." As mentioned, sovereignty entails responsibility. The implementation of the guiding principles on internal displacement is based on that obligation of states as rights duty holders and through their authorities. And this is with regard to protection and guaranteeing the respect, protection, and fulfillment of all human rights, including, of course, internally displaced persons. As emphasized, the obligation applies to IDPs in the territory of that state. In fact, international experts, including the former Special Representative of the Secretary General on IDPs, Professor Walter Kellin, have put together a framework for national responsibility for IDPs. We will have an introduction to that framework in the video after this. Paragraph 2 of this principle continues. International humanitarian organizations and the other appropriate actors have the right to offer their services in support of the internally displaced. Such an offer shall not be regarded as an unfriendly act or an interference in the state's internal affairs and shall be considered in good faith. Consent thereto shall not be arbitrarily withheld, particularly when authorities concerned are unable or unwilling to provide the required humanitarian assistance. This notion on the right to offer services in particularly humanitarian services, is referred to in both human rights and humanitarian law. Consent, however, is nuanced on the fact that such consent should be seen in good faith and that it's not a violation of sovereignty, and furthermore, should not be arbitrarily refused. The right to offer and the duty of states not to withhold consent arbitrarily to go together and are the two faces of the same coin. Particularly in emergency situations, the implementation of these two notions, the right to offer humanitarian assistance by humanitarian actors and the duty of states not to withhold consent arbitrarily, may actually be a matter of life and death for the populations concerned. This is the reason that humanitarian access is one of the most advocated means to be able to assist internally displaced persons. Paragraph 3 particularly says, all authorities concerned shall grant and facilitate the free passage of humanitarian assistance and grant persons engaged in the provision of such assistance rapid and unimpeded access to the internally displaced. Where humanitarian assistance is available and accessible, authorities are obliged to grant and facilitate its free passage and provide effective access to internally displaced persons. Otherwise, consent will be merely rhetorical. This paragraph also emphasizes that authorities shall not divert or otherwise impede humanitarian access and to respect the principles of humanity, impartiality, and non-discrimination that we discussed in the previous video. Thank you for tuning in on this particular video on the state's primary duty and responsibility, and the next video, I will introduce to you the framework for national responsibility on addressing internal displacement, which is connected to this principle. I'll see you then.